free college football picks for Saturday, October 21st. Tony T with our college football pick show here for Saturday action. We have all 46 games. Before I get to you just a couple things, be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. We have free college football picks updated all season long. Free picks every day from all the major sports like NFL, like college football, Major League Baseball, NHL, NBA is just a few days away, plus lots of live shows over our channel, making it a great time to subscribe. And also, if you would, support our channel, give us that like, that thumbs up. We greatly appreciate it. Then visit TonySpicks.com. We're a multi-capper site showcasing top cappers from the industry. Click the links to the hot cappers. Get it signed up for our long-term passes. Hot cappers like Ramon Scott. Look at this, 4,600 units of product for the year. Joseph Schultz approaching 4,000 units. Chauncey's doing great. Look at Hollywood Sam over the past 30 days. He's been on fire. Joseph Schultz, Ben Rohala, Nick Lagarotos up there as well. Last 7 days are both all performing great. Hollywood Sam off a monster day. So is Nick Martini, Ralph Raymond. Click the links. Get signed up to our long-term passes. You'll find the links for our best bets, our premium picks, our multi-pack, 3-packs, props, promotional items. Click the links. Get signed up to our passes. We do sell props for sale. Also included in the long-term passes, props as well as late steam plays, best bets, and no additional charges when you buy the long-term passes. Click the links to the cappers for those. You'll also find our picks a la carte on the pick ticker with individual props and team versus team information on spreads, totals, and money lines. You can save 20% off all premium pick packages when you use that promo code TonyT at checkout. Access our page by clicking the link in the description. Click the All Cappers tab, get signed up. Always love to hear from you guys, so you can post your picks in the comments. We are looking for cappers. Apply on that home page. All right, let's go ahead. Let's get this one started. Memphis and UAB college football pick for Saturday. Memphis fell to 4-2 with their 31-21 home defeat to Tulane Green Wave. Tigers rushed for 45 yards on 19 carries. They surrendered 144 yards rushing to the Green Wave with 259 passing on only 31 attempts. The Tigers had a -2 turnover margin. Seth Hennigan completed 24 of 43 passes for 321 yards with 3 touchdowns and 2 interceptions. He averaged 7.5 yards per pass attempt. UAB fell to 2-5, a 41-20 road defeat to UTSA. The Blazers rushed for 132 yards for under 4 yards a carry. They allowed 183 yards rushing to the Roadrunners with 177 passing on 32 attempts. UAB had a -2 turnover margin. Jacob Zeno hit on 13 of 21 for 110 yards with an interception. He averaged only 5.2 yards per pass attempt and had a rushing touchdown. UAB sits 116th in total defense while allowing 429 yards a game. Teams are rushing for 5.5 yards a carry on this team. Memphis has the better defense, holding foes to 369 yards a game. The Tigers in their lone road game pounded Arkansas State 37-3. Play here Memphis -4.5. Baylor and Cincinnati college football pick for action on Saturday. Baylor fell to 2-4 with a 39-14 home defeat to Texas Tech Red Raiders. Bears rushed for only 17 yards on 30 carries. They surrendered 186 yards rushing to the Red Raiders with 180 passing on 26 attempts. Blake Shapen completed 22 of 38 for 324 yards with a touchdown. He averaged 8.5 yards per pass attempt and was sacked 6 times. Cincinnati fell to 2-4, a 30-10 home defeat to Iowa State Cyclones. The Bearcats rushed for 115 yards on 33 carries. They limited the Cyclones to just over 3 yards per rush with 241 passing on 25 attempts. Cincinnati had a -2 turnover margin. Emory Jones, 14 of 26 passing for 96 yards with a touchdown and 2 interceptions. He averaged 3.7 yards per pass attempt and rushed for 72 yards. He has thrown 2 interceptions in 3 of his past 4 starts. Jones was benched for ineffectiveness. Baylor in their lone road win came away with a win at UCF behind 448 yards. Bearcats have lost 4 straight, including a 7-point defeat at home to Miami, Ohio. Play here Baylor plus the 1.5. UCF and Oklahoma college football pick for action here on Saturday, all right, UCF fell to 3-3, a 51-22 road defeat in Kansas. The Knights rushed for 202 yards. They surrendered 399 yards rushing to the Jayhawks with 91 passing on 12 attempts. John Rice Plumlee, well, he left the game after tossing 7 passes. Remember, he had missed the prior 3 games due to a knee injury and was seen wearing a knee brace. Timmy McClain relieved, 12 of 15 passing for 136 yards and 2 touchdowns. He averaged 9.1 yards per pass attempt. Oklahoma 6-0, a 34-30 road victory to Texas. Actually, that was a neutral site victory to Texas. That was 2 weeks ago. You know, the Sooners rushed for 201 yards. They allowed 156 yards to the Longhorns on the ground with 371 passing on 38 attempts. It was a +3 turnover margin for Oklahoma. Dylan Gabriel hit on 23 of 38 passing for 285 yards with a touchdown and 7.5 yards per pass attempt. He rushed for 113 yards and a touchdown. A bye week for the Sooners. Central Florida's 3 conference games resulted in very poor defense, allowing 44 points and 491 yards a game. Oklahoma holds teams only 353 yards a game. The Sooners have covered all 6 this year and have been double-digit favorites in 5 of those games. Play here, Oklahoma -18.5. Rutgers and Indiana college football pick. This one here on Saturday. Rutgers improved to 5-2, a 27-24 home victory to Michigan State. The Scarlet Knights rushed for 144 yards for 4.5 yards a carry. They allowed under 3 yards per run to the Spartans with 133 passing yards on 29 attempts. Scarlet Knights overcame a 24-6 deficit after 3 quarters. Gavin Wimsatt, 13 of 28 passing for 181 yards with a touchdown and 2 interceptions. He averaged 6.5 yards per pass attempt. Indiana fell to 2-4, a 52-7 road defeat at Michigan. Hoosiers rushed for 92 yards for under 3 yards a carry. They allowed 163 yards rushing to the Wolverines with 244 passing on 22 attempts. Hoosiers a -4 turnover margin. Tavon Jackson, 7 of 13 passing for 52 yards and 2 interceptions. Third string Brendan Sorsby saw work, hit 6 of 15 for 44 yards, averaging only 2.9 yards per pass attempt. Offensive line banged up for the Rutgers. The Scarlet Knights in their road games averaged 15 points and 275 yards a game. Hoosiers showed competitiveness in their spread cover against Louisville on a neutral field. Scarlet Knights 96th in the nation by averaging 5.4 yards per play and are inefficient in the passing game. Indiana does allow only 378 yards per game. Play here Indiana plus the 5. Mississippi State and Arkansas college football pick. This one here on Saturday. Mississippi State improved to 3-3 after their 41-28 home victory 2 weeks ago to Western Michigan. Bulldogs rushed for 194 yards, valued over 3.5 yards per rush to the Broncos with 297 passing on 45 attempts. Will Rogers, 16 of 22 passing for 189 yards with 3 touchdowns. He averaged 8.6 yards per pass attempt. Rogers suffered an arm injury. He's questionable here. Arkansas fell to 2-5, a 24-21 road defeat to Alabama. The Razorbacks rushed for under 3 yards a carry. They allowed 177 yards rushing to the Crimson Tide with 238 passing on 21 attempts. KJ Jefferson, 14 of 24 passing for 150 yards, 2 touchdowns. He averaged 6.3 yards per pass attempt. Arkansas is having difficulty running the football. 2.9 yards per rush average. The Razorbacks have the 118th ranked offense in college football, averaging 321 yards a game. Mississippi State has been strong defending the run and holding opponents to 3.7 yards a carry. 5 straight losses by the Razorbacks, including a 7-point home loss to BYU. The Bulldogs are coming off a bye week. Play here Mississippi State plus the 7. Western Michigan and Ohio college football pick for action on Saturday. Western Michigan fell to 2-5 with their 34-21 home defeat to Miami O. The Broncos rushed for 167 yards. They allowed 3.5 yards per rush to the Redhawks with 223 passing yards on 35 attempts. Western Michigan had a -2 turnover margin. Hayden Wolf, well, he goes 13 of 20 for 99 yards. He averaged 5 yards per pass attempt and had a rushing touchdown. Ohio drops to 5-2, a 23-13 road defeat at Northern Illinois. Bobcats rushed for 95 yards for under 4 yards per carry. They surrendered 134 yards on the ground at the Huskies with 172 passing on 23 attempts. The Bobcats had a -3 turnover margin. Curtis worked 22 of 36 passing for 159 yards and 3 interceptions. He had a rushing touchdown. Ohio has been a really good home team this year and has a 10-7 win here to Iowa State. The Bobcats are 4th in total defense in the nation, allowing 244 yards a game, 3.1 yards per rush. They are an efficient pass defense as well. Now, Western Michigan has allowed 40 or greater points in their road games. The Broncos are allowing 6.3 yards per play, sitting 117th in the nation. Play here, Ohio, -15. Air Force and Navy college football pick. This one here on Saturday. Air Force improved to 6-0, a 34-27 home victory to Wyoming. Falcons rushed for 358 yards. They limited the Cowboys to 3.1 yards per run with 212 passing on 25 attempts. Zach Lair suffered a knee injury. He's questionable here. He was wearing a knee brace on the sidelines. Backup Jensen Jones is a senior who served as a backup in his career. He rushed 3 times last week for 23 yards. They survived a -2 turnover margin. Navy improved to 3-3, a 14-0 win at Charlotte. The Midshipmen rushed for 173 yards. They allowed 3 yards per rush to the 49ers with 142 passing on 28 attempts. Navy had a +3 turnover margin. Ty Lavatai is questionable after leaving the game with a rib injury. Braxton Woodson, 5 of 14 passing for 85 yards and a touchdown. He averaged 6.1 yards per pass attempt and rushed for 58 yards. Air Force faced a run-heavy Sam Houston State, win 13-3. Air Force is holding teams to 2.8 yards per rush, and the Midshipman is defending the run well. The unders come in 3 times in a row the past 3 seasons in this head-to-head matchup. The play here, Air Force and Navy, under 37.5. Boston College and Georgia Tech college football pick. Here we go on Saturday. Boston College improved to 3-3, a 27-24 road win at Army 2 weeks ago. Golden Eagles rushed for 299 yards on 61 rushes. They allowed 5 yards per rush to the Black Knights with 105 passing on 13 attempts. Thomas Castellanos, 4 of 9 passing for 51 yards. He averaged 5.7 yards per pass attempt. Castellanos rushed for 142 yards and 4 touchdowns. Georgia Tech 3-3 after their 23-20 road win at Miami 2 weeks ago. Yellow Jackets rushed for 99 yards for under 4 yards a carry. They surrendered 165 yards on the ground of the Hurricanes with 208 passing on 36 attempts. Georgia Tech did catch a break as Miami decided not to kneel down to win the game. Instead, elected to run the ball and they turned it over. Yellow Jackets win on a 44-yard touchdown pass as time expired. Haynes King, 12 of 25 passing for 151 yards. He had a touchdown and 2 picks. He rushed for 46 yards and a touchdown. You know, BC has won the past 2 meetings in really high-scoring games. Georgia Tech, 118th in total defense. They're giving up 432 yards a game, but 5 yards per rush. We just saw BC run heavy in their last game. The Eagles defend better. They can exploit that poor run defense of the Yellow Jackets. Play here, Boston College, plus the 5. Penn State and Ohio State college football pick. Here we go for Saturday. Penn State improved to 6-0, a 63-0 home victory at UMass. The Nittany Lions rushed for 250 yards. They limited the Minutemen to under 2 yards per rush with 45 passing yards on 23 attempts. Drew Allar, 16 of 23 passing for 162 yards and 3 touchdowns. He averaged 7 yards per pass attempt and had a rushing touchdown. Ohio State improved to 6-0, a 41-7 road win at Purdue. Well, Buckeyes rushed for 152 yards. They allowed 3.5 yards per rush to the Boilermakers with 134 passing on 35 attempts. Ohio State survived a -2 turnover margin. Kyle McCord, 16 of 28 passing for 276 yards, 3 touchdowns. He averaged 9.9 yards per pass attempt. Penn State first in total defense, allowing 194 yards a game. Teams rushed for only 2.3 yards a carry on the Nittany Lions and passed for only 4.7 yards per pass attempt. Buckeyes sit 7th in total defense by allowing 263 yards a game. Passing efficiency, a massive concern for Penn State here. Play here, Penn State and Ohio State under 48. UL Monroe and Georgia Southern college football pick. This one here on Saturday. UL Monroe 2-4 after their 21-10 road defeat at Texas State. The Warhawks rushed for 135 yards for nearly 4 yards a carry. They surrendered 230 yards rushing to the Bobcats with 222 passing on 48 attempts. Hunter Herring missed his 4th straight game with that collarbone injury. Questionable here. Jaira Wright goes 14 of 22 for 150 yards and a touchdown. He averaged 6.8 yards per pass attempt and rushed for 52 yards. Georgia Southern fell to 4-2, a 41-13 road defeat to James Madison. Eagles rushed for only 64 yards on 29 carries. They allowed over 5 yards per rush to the Dukes with 259 passing on 31 attempts. Georgia Southern had a -3 turnover margin. Davis Brin 31 of 52 for 271 yards and 2 interceptions. He averaged only 5.2 yards per pass attempt. Georgia Southern, a mid-pack defense, allowing 364 yards a game. But the offense sits 22nd overall, averaging 453 yards a game. The Warhawks defense, 124th in college football. They're giving up 455 yards a game with major struggles in the passing game. Georgia Southern is passing for 331 yards. They're not an efficient passing offense behind Davis Brin. The Warhawks' poor offensive numbers the concern here, as is their defense. Play here, Georgia Southern -16.5. Akron and Bowling Green college football pick. This one here on Saturday. All right, Akron fell to 1-6, a 17-10 road defeat at Central Michigan. The Zips rushed for 70 yards. They allowed 2.5 yards per rush to the Chippewas with 181 passing on 32 attempts. Taj Bullock hit on 6 of 17 passes for 45 yards and 2 interceptions, just 2.6 yards per pass attempt. He rushed for 32 yards. Now, starter DJ Irons out for the season with a knee injury. That's big. Now, Jeff Undercuffler relieved, hit 10 of 16 passes for 78 yards with a touchdown. He averaged just 4.9 yards per pass. Undercuffler was used extensively last season in a relief role. Bowling Green improved to 3-4, a 24-14 road victory to the Buffalo Bulls. The Falcons rushed for 223 yards. They allowed 167 yards on the ground of the Bulls with 71 passing on 29 attempts. Bowling Green committed 3 turnovers and forced 5 from Buffalo. Camden Orth hit on 9 of 16 passes for 77 yards with a touchdown and 2 interceptions. He averaged 4.8 yards per pass attempt and rushed for 72 yards and a touchdown. Both defenses performed well in the year. The Falcons were aided to victory by 5 Buffalo turnovers. They are averaging only 10 points a game against the MAC and inefficient in the passing game. Play here, Akron +7.5. Charlotte and East Carolina college football pick. This one here on Saturday. All right, Charlotte fell to 1-5 after their 14-0 home defeat to Navy. 49ers rushed for 123 yards on 40 attempts. They allowed 173 yards rushing to the midshipmen with 92 passing on 15 attempts. Trexler Ivy, 11 of 27 passing for 142 yards with 2 interceptions. He averaged 5.3 yards per pass attempt and was sacked 4 times. East Carolina dropped to 1-5. A 31-10 home defeat to SMU Mustangs. Pirates rushed for 97 yards on 38 carries. They limited the Mustangs to just over 2 yards per rush with 276 passing yards on 38 attempts. East Carolina had a -2 turnover margin. Alex Finn hit on 6 of 13 passes for 38 yards and an interception. Mason Garcia relieved, went 12 of 26 for 155 yards. He averaged 6 yards per attempt and rushed for 38 yards and a touchdown. These two are likely to rotate on Saturday. Both teams have no wins against FBS teams. Charlotte has covered all 3 on the road. East Carolina's inefficient passing game makes it tough to lay over a touchdown as their quarterback situation is pretty much a mess. Play here, Charlotte +7. North Texas and Tulane college football pick. This one here on Saturday. All right, North Texas improved to 3-3. A 45-14 home victory to Temple. Mean Green posted 220 yards of rushing. They did allow 240 yards on the ground in the Owls, but only 105 passing on 30 attempts. North Texas had a +3 turnover margin. Chandler Rogers, 25 of 39 for 307 yards with 4 touchdowns. He averaged 7.9 yards per pass attempt, but took 4 sacks. Tulane improved to 5-1, a 31-21 road win at Memphis. The Green Wave rushed for 144 yards. They limited the Tigers to 45 yards on the ground for just over 2 yards a carry with 321 passing on 43 attempts. Tulane had a +3 turnover margin. Michael Pratt hit on 19 of 31 passes for 259 yards and a touchdown. He averaged 8.4 yards per pass attempt and had a rushing touchdown. Green Wave is an efficient passing offense, averaging 14.7 yards per completion, 9.1 yards per pass attempt. North Texas, 127th in the nation in total defense. They're giving up 459 yards, 5.7 yards per rush, 12.5 yards per completed pass. They are 16th, though, in total offense, averaging 477 yards a game. Now, North Texas running for 5.1 yards a carry and efficient in their passing game. But Tulane should be able to score at will here with little resistance because this Mean Green defense is not that good. Mean Green will get enough offense to hit the total. Play here Tulane and North Texas over 61.5. Wisconsin and Illinois college football pick. Here we go for Saturday's action. Wisconsin fell to 4-2 after a 15-6 home defeat to the Iowa Hawkeyes. Badgers rushed for 96 yards on 3.5 yards to carry. They surrendered 200 yards rushing to the Hawkeyes with 37 passing on 14 attempts. Wisconsin had a -2 turnover margin. Tanner Mordecai hit on 12 of 20 passes for 106 yards. Mordecai broke his hand out indefinitely. Braden Locke hit 15 of 30 passes for 122 yards and an interception. He averaged 4.1 yards per pass attempt and lost a fumble. Illinois improved to 3-4, a 27-24 road victory over Maryland Terrapins. Fighting Illini rushed for 131 yards. They limited the Terrapins to just over 3 yards per carry with 287 passing on 40 attempts. Luke Altmaier, 16 of 28 passing for 206 yards with 2 touchdowns and an interception. He averaged 7.4 yards per pass attempt. Wisconsin runs for 5 yards a carry, and Illinois allowing 4.2 yards per rush. Illinois, an inefficient passing team. The Badgers defend the pass well, sit 36 in total defense, allowing 335 yards a game. Quarterback changed the concern for the Badgers. Expect a lot of running here. Play here, Wisconsin, Illinois under 42. Pittsburgh and Wake Forest college football pick. Here we go for action on Saturday. Pittsburgh improved to 2-4 after a 38-21 home victory at Louisville. The Panthers rushed for under 3 yards a carry. They limited the Cardinals to nearly 3 yards per rush with 350 passing on 52 attempts. The Panthers had a +3 turnover margin. Christian Velo hit on 12 of 26 passes for 200 yards with 2 touchdowns. He averaged 7.7 yards per pass attempt. Wake Forest drops to 3-3, a 30-13 road defeat to Virginia Tech. The Demon Deacons rushed for only 35 yards on 31 carries. They allowed 141 yards rushing to the Hokies with 321 passing on 29 attempts. It was a -2 turnover margin for the Demon Deacons. Mitch Griffiths completed 8 of 17 passes for 61 yards and an interception. He averaged just 3.6 yards per pass attempt. Michael Kern is the more efficient quarterback, but is injured, forcing an ineffective Griffiths to start. Prefer below here. The play here, Pittsburgh +2.5. Washington State and Oregon in a college football pick. This one here is on Saturday. All right. Washington State fell to 4-2 after their 44-6 home defeat to Arizona. The Cougars rushed for only 35 yards on 22 carries. They surrendered 174 rushing yards to the Wildcats with 342 passing on 43 attempts. It was a -3 turnover margin for Washington State. Cameron Ward hit on 22 of 30 passes for 192 yards with an interception. He averaged 6.4 yards per pass attempt. Oregon fell to 6-1, a 36-33 road defeat at Washington. A missed field goal as time expired cost them a shot at overtime. Ducks rushed for 204 yards. They held the Huskies to 3 yards per rush with 316 passing on 38 attempts. Bo Nix, 33 of 44 passing for 337 yards with 2 touchdowns. He averaged 7.7 yards per pass attempt. Washington State defense has been torched in their past 2 games. Their rush defense has been grounded in back-to-back games. Oregon's done a great job of stopping the run in their past 4 games. That seems to be the key to stopping this Cougars team, and that is to shut down their run game. And it all goes bad. Play here Oregon here at -20. Central Michigan and Ball State college football pick. This one here on Saturday. Central Michigan improved to 4-3 after their 17-10 home victory of the Akron Zips. The Chippewas rushed for 117 yards on 50 carries. They allowed 70 yards rushing to the Zips with 123 passing on 34 attempts. Jace Bauer, 17 of 32 passing for 181 yards and 2 interceptions. He rushed for 61 yards and a touchdown. Ball State sits 1-6, a 13-6 home defeat to Toledo Rockets. Cardinals rushed for 167 yards. They surrendered 210 yards rushing to the Rockets with 166 passing yards on 27 attempts. Kyle Kelly hit on 4 of 16 passes for 98 yards and an interception. He averaged only 2.4 yards per rush and per pass attempt and ran for 98 yards. I just respect the Chippewas as a win here against South Alabama. Ball State dropped both home games with poor passing performances. The Red Hawks ground game generates only 3.7 yards a carry. They have no wins against FBS teams. Play here Central Michigan at -4.5. All right, here we go. Eastern Michigan and Northern Illinois college football pick. This one here on Saturday. Eastern Michigan 4-3 after their 28-14 home victory to Kent. The Eagles rushed for 100 yards, and it was under 3 yards a carry. They allowed 163 yards rushing to Kent with 180 passing on 36 attempts. EMU had a +2 turnover margin. Austin Smith, 9 of 25 passing for 118 yards and a touchdown. He averaged only 4.7 yards per pass attempt. Northern Illinois improved to 3-4, a 23-13 home victory to Ohio. Huskies gained 133 rushing yards on 34 attempts. They limited the Bobcats to under 4 yards per run with 159 passing yards on 36 attempts. NIU had a +3 turnover margin. Rocky Lombardi completed 15 of 23 passes for 172 yards and a touchdown. He averaged 7.5 yards per pass attempt. Eastern Michigan is 132nd ranked offense in college football by averaging only 253 yards a game. Northern Illinois against the MAC is averaging 37 points and 440 yards a game. Eastern Michigan has defended well in the MAC, holding opponents to only 16.7 points per game. Northern Illinois is not an efficient passing team here. They play here Eastern Michigan +12. Northwestern and Nebraska college football pick for action on Saturday. Northwestern improved to 3-3 after their 23-20 home win at FCS school Howard. Now the Wildcats ranked just 122nd in total offense. Really poor average on yards this season. The run game produces just 3.1 yards per carry. Quarterback Ben Bryant is questionable with an upper body injury, and Brendan Sullivan started against Howard. He saw work in 5 games last year, completing 74% of his passes with 6.1 yards per pass attempt. He has gone 10 of 16 for 61 yards this year with a touchdown and interception, but only 3.8 yards per pass attempt. Nebraska, they're now 3-3. A 20-7 road win to Illinois. Cornhuskers rushed for 158 yards. They held the final line at just 21 yards rushing on 19 carries with 289 yards passing on 47 attempts. Heinrich Heiberg hit on 12 of 24 passes for 154 yards and an interception. He averaged 6.4 yards per pass, rushed for 82 yards and a touchdown. Despite the quarterback change, the Cornhuskers passing game still remains inefficient. The Wildcats won last year's meeting 31-28. Just not confident in laying double digits with Nebraska, as the Wildcats have been effective with their pass defense. Player Northwestern +12. Buffalo and Kent, college football pick for Saturday's action. All right, here we go. Buffalo fell to 2-5 with their 24-14 home defeat to Bowling Green. Bulls rushed for 167 yards. They surrendered 218 yards rushing to the Falcons with 77 passing yards. Buffalo committed 5 turnovers and took 3 away from Bowling Green. Cole Snyder hit 5 of 15 passes for 30 yards and 2 interceptions. He averaged a season low 2 yards per attempt and had a rushing touchdown. He was benched for ineffectiveness. Seiji Agbana relieved, then he threw 2 picks as well. Kent, they're 1-6, a 28-14 road defeat to Eastern Michigan. Golden Flashes rushed for 163 yards for nearly 4 yards a carry. They limited the Eagles to under 3 yards per rush with 118 yards passing on 25 attempts. Michael Alemo, just 2 of 8 passing for 11 yards, 1.4 yards per pass attempt. Tommy Olatowski relieved, 12 of 28 passing for 169 yards, 2 touchdowns. He averaged 6 yards per pass attempt. Kent is the least experienced team in college football, allowed 28 points to a poor offense as Eastern Michigan. That's the concern. Wolves have covered all 3 of their road games and have the experience as a quarterback in conference. Golden Flashes averaging just 11 points a game while giving up 31. Bulls holding conference foes to 16 points a game while putting up 21. Play here Buffalo -6.5. Oklahoma State and West Virginia college football pick. This one here on Saturday. Oklahoma State improved to 3-2, a 39-32 home victory to Kansas Jayhawks. Cowboys outscored the Jayhawks 15-zip in the final 25 minutes. They gained 218 rushing yards on 38 carries. They limited the Kansas to 3 yards per rush with 410 passing yards on 34 attempts. Oklahoma State had a +2 turnover margin. Alan Ballman, 28 of 41 passing for 336 yards, 2 touchdowns. He averaged 8.2 yards per pass attempt. West Virginia fell to 4-2, a 41-39 road defeat to Houston Cougars. Mountaineers lost on a 49-yard touchdown pass as time expired. They rushed for 155 yards. WVU allowed 140 rushing yards to Houston with 202 passing on 27 attempts. Garrett Green, 20 of 38 passing for 391 yards, 2 touchdowns, and an interception. He averaged 10.3 yards per pass attempt and rushed for 47 yards and 2 touchdowns. West Virginia had won and covered all their home games this season. Oklahoma State has a 7-point loss in their conference road game at Iowa State where they allowed 348 yards passing. WVU, they play good defense, holding opponents to 345 yards a game. Cowboys are an inefficient passing team. Oklahoma State's pass defense is a concern in conference play. They are allowing 431 yards per game overall against the Big 12. It's really a tough road spot. Play here West Virginia -3.5. South Carolina and Missouri college football pick. This one here on Saturday. South Carolina drops to 2-4, a 41-39 home defeat to Florida. The Gamecocks rushed for 152 yards. They limited the Gators to just over 2 yards a carry, but gave up 423 passing yards on 48 attempts. South Carolina had a -2 turnover margin. Spencer Rattler, 23 of 30 passing for 313 yards with 4 touchdowns and an interception. He averaged 10.4 yards per pass attempt and had 46 rushing yards. Missouri improved to 6-1, a 38-21 road victory in Kentucky. Tigers rushed for 118 yards for nearly 3 yards a carry. They surrendered 179 rushing yards to the Wildcats with 120 passing on 27 attempts. Missouri a +2 turnover margin. Brady Cook completed 19 of 29 passing for 167 yards with a touchdown and an interception. He averaged a season low 5.8 yards per pass attempt and rushed for a touchdown. Missouri has won 4 straight against South Carolina. The Gamecocks' road games resulted in a 10-point loss at Georgia and lost by 21 at Tennessee. South Carolina defense against the SEC is bad. They allow 429 yards a game with 287 passing. Missouri in the conference averaging 463 yards a game, putting up 38 points a game. South Carolina has been efficient in the passing game, 73% completion rate, 9.1 yards per pass attempt. Player South Carolina, Missouri over 60 points. Tennessee and Alabama college football pick for action on Saturday. All right, Tennessee improved to 5-1, a 20-13 home victory to Texas A&M. The Volunteers rushed for 232 yards. They limited the Aggies to under 2 yards a carry with 223 passing yards on 34 attempts. Joe Milton, 11-22 passing for 100 yards with a touchdown and interception. He averaged a season low 4.5 yards per pass attempt and rushed for 34 yards. Volunteers were aided by a punt return for touchdown. Alabama improved to 6-1. A 24-21 home victory at Arkansas. Crimson Tide rushed for 177 yards. They limited the Razorbacks to under 3 yards a carry with 150 passing yards on 24 attempts. Jalen Monroe hit on 10 of 21 passing for 238 yards with 2 touchdowns. He averaged 11.3 yards per pass attempt and rushed for a touchdown. Alabama sits 15th in total defense by allowing 292 yards a game with 3 yards per carry. They defend the pass effectively. Tennessee lacks an efficient passing attack. Alabama passing is efficient with 15.5 yards per completion and 9.5 yards per pass attempt. Tennessee, in their lone true road game, was beaten down by Florida 29-16 as the Gators rushed for 183 yards. Volunteers rush defense plus Milton as an inefficient passer. The concern here, play here Alabama minus the 9. Minnesota and Iowa college football pick. This one here on Saturday. All right, Minnesota fell to 3-3, a 52-10 home defeat to Michigan 2 weeks ago. Golden Gophers rushed for 3 yards a carry. They surrendered 191 yards on the ground to the Wolverines with 241 passing on 23 attempts. Minnesota a -2 turnover margin. Ethan Kalakmanis, 5 of 15 passing for 52 yards and a touchdown, 2 picks. He averaged a season low 3.5 yards per pass attempt. Iowa improved to 6-1. A 15-6 road win at Wisconsin. Hawkeyes rushed for over 200 yards. They limited the Badgers to just over 3 yards a carry with 228 passing yards on 50 attempts. Iowa +2 turnover margin. Deacon Hill 6 of 14 passing for 37 yards with 2.6 yards per pass attempt. His tight end Eric L., who was a key target for Hill, is out. Both offenses near the bottom of college football. Now Iowa sits 133rd in the nation. They're averaging 247 yards a game. Iowa defends well. They hold their opponents to 324 yards a game. Both teams will struggle to get points on the scoreboard in what may be just amount to a field goal kicking contest. Play here in Minnesota and Iowa under 32.5. South Florida and UConn college football pick. This one here Saturday. South Florida drops here too. 3-4, a 56-14 home defeat to FAU. The Bulls rushed for 138 yards for 3.5 yards a carry. They surrendered 205 yards rushing to the Owls with 382 passing on 38 attempts. Byron Brown hit on 15 of 26 passes for 179 yards and a touchdown. He averaged 6.9 yards per pass attempt and rushed for 46 yards. UConn improved to 1-5, 38-31 road victory to the Rice Owls 2 weeks ago. Huskies rushed for 140 yards for 3.5 yards a carry. They allowed 112 rushing yards to Rice with 362 passing on 49 attempts. It was a +4 turnover margin for the Huskies. Taquan Roberson, 15 of 19 passing for 215 yards and 2 touchdowns. He averaged 11 yards per pass attempt. South Florida, 37th in total offense, averaging 436 yards a game. The Huskies struggle in pass defense by surrendering 12.5 yards per completion and 8 yards per pass attempt. UConn has allowed over 300 yards passing in their past 2 games. UConn 115th in total offense by averaging only 322 yards a game with 3.8 yards per rush and an inefficient passing game. Play here USF -2.5. Toledo and Miami, Ohio college football pick. This one Saturday. All right, Toledo 6-1 after a 13-6 road win at Ball State. Rockets rushed for 210 yards in the game. They did allow 167 yards on the ground to the Cardinals with only 38 passing and 16 attempts. Naquan Finn 15 of 27 passing for 166 yards. He averaged 6.1 yards per attempt and rushed for 25 yards. Miami, Ohio, 6-1, a 34-21 road win at Western Michigan. Redhawks rushed for 91 yards on 32 carries. They allowed 167 yards rushing to the Broncos with 136 passing yards on 30 attempts. They had a -1 turnover margin. Brett Gabbert hit on 20 of 35 passes for 223 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a pick. He averaged 6.4 yards per pass attempt with 2 rushing touchdowns. The Redhawks in conference play are holding teams just 215 yards a game. Miami, Ohio, an efficient passing attack averaging 15 yards per completion, 9 yards per pass attempt. The team does have a road win at Cincinnati to their credit. Play here, Miami, Ohio here at plus the 2.5. Texas and Houston college football pick. This one here on Saturday. Texas fell to 5-1, a 34-30 home defeat to Oklahoma. The Longhorns rushed for 156 yards. They allowed 201 yards rushing to Oklahoma with 285 passing yards on 38 attempts. Texas a -3 turnover margin. Quinn Ewers 31 of 37 passing for 346 yards with a touchdown, but 2 picks. He averaged 9.4 yards per pass attempt. Houston improved to 3-3, a 41-39 home victory to West Virginia. Cougars won on a 49-yard touchdown pass as time expired. The team rushed for 140 yards. They allowed 155 yards on the ground of the Mountaineers with 391 passing yards on 38 attempts. Donovan Smith, 21 of 27 passing for 253 yards with 4 touchdowns. He averaged 9.4 yards per pass attempt and had a rushing touchdown. Houston has struggled defensively, allowing 429 yards a game. They give up big plays in the passing game. They're giving up 13.5 yards per completion, 8 yards per pass attempt. Longhorns 13th in total offense, averaging 486 yards a game. This is an efficient passing offense that can exploit the Houston secondary. Now, we saw Houston get pounded at Texas Tech, allowing 43 points at Rice, giving up 401 yards passing. In that game, they also allowed 314 yards passing on a 23-point home defeat to TCU. It just seems these AAC teams having difficulty stepping up in the Big 12 here. Play here, Texas minus 23.5 points. Hawaii and New Mexico college football pick. This one here Saturday. All right, Hawaii fell to 2-5, a 41-34 home defeat to San Diego State. Warriors rushed for only 53 yards on 14 carries. They allowed 157 yards on the ground of the Aztecs with 221 yards passing on 24 attempts. Hawaii had a -3 turnover margin. Braden Shager hit on 29 of 47 passes for 427 yards with 3 touchdowns and a pick. He averaged 9 yards per pass attempt. New Mexico fell to 2-4, a 52-24 home defeat to San Jose State. Lobos rushed for 129 yards on 36 carries. They allowed 259 yards rushing to the Spartans with 272 passing yards on 17 attempts. Dylan Hopkins, 13 of 24 passing for 187 yards with a pick. He averaged 7.8 yards per pass attempt. Lobos have dropped home games to the Spartans here and rival New Mexico State. This is by far the easiest road spot for a Warriors team that's showing improvement for Timmy Chang. Lobos ranked 131st in the nation in yards allowed per play at 7.2 and near the bottom of college football and allowing 5.5 yards per rush. Also near the bottom rating in defensive pass efficiency. They're giving up 15.5 yards per completion, 9.4 yards per pass attempt. Play here Hawaii minus the 1. All right, we start off here at UTSA and FAU college football pick. This one here is on Saturday. All right, UTSA improved to 3-3 with their 41-20 home victory at UAB. Roadrunners rushed for 183 yards. They allowed 131 yards rushing to the Blazers for under 4 yards a carry with 233 yards passing on 35 attempts. UTSA had a +2 turnover margin. Frank Harris completed 19 of 30 for 171 yards with 2 touchdowns. He averaged a season low, 5.7 yards per pass attempt. FAU improved to 3-3, a 56-14 road victory to USF. The Owls rushed for 205 yards. They allowed 3.5 yards a carry to USF with 250 passing yards on 34 attempts. Daniel Richardson hit on 31 of 38 passes for 382 yards, 3 touchdowns, and an interception. He averaged 10.1 yards per pass attempt, season high. There in that game. We have FAU has shown defensive improvement in conference play by holding teams to 15.5 points a game. Roadrunners are a below-average running team. The Owls have an efficient pass defense. UTSA has been, an inefficient passing team this year, as we talked about. 10.4 yards per completion, 6.8 yards per pass attempt. FAU season numbers show an inefficient passing game, 9.7 yards per completion, 6.3 yards per pass attempt. Let's go UTSA and FAU under 59.5 points. Virginia and North Carolina college football pick. This one here is on Saturday. Virginia improved to 1-5 with their 27-13 home victory 2 weeks ago to FCS William & Mary. Their past 2 losses have been by 3 points. Cavaliers have an 8-game losing streak against FBS teams dating to last year. Tony Muskett had decided to play through his shoulder injury that will likely need surgery in the offseason. In his 3 games this season, Muskett has completed 62% of his passes with 7.4 yards per pass attempt. North Carolina improved to 6-0, a 40-7 home victory to Syracuse. The Tar Heels rushed for 202 yards. They limited the Orange to just over 3 yards a carry with 129 yards passing on 23 attempts. Drake May, 17-33 passing for 273 yards with 4 touchdowns. He averaged 8.3 yards per pass attempt. Virginia's covered their conference games with help from their defense that allowed 352 yards a game. The pass defense has stepped up for Virginia in conference play. North Carolina is defending the run well, limiting opponents to 3.6 yards per rush, and the Cavs rush for only 2.7 yards a carry. Virginia is one-dimensional, will struggle to get points here against a North Carolina team that has improved defensively. Prior to the Miami game, the Tar Heels allowed under 200 yards passing to their past 3 opponents. Play here, Virginia, North Carolina, under 56. Colorado State and UNLV college football pick. Here we go for Saturday. Colorado State improved to 3-3 with their 31-30 victory to Boise State Broncos. The Rams overcame a 20-point deficit in the final 4 minutes. CSU rushed for only 2 yards a carry here. They surrendered 244 yards rushing to the Broncos with 138 yards passing on 24 attempts. Colorado State had a +2 turnover margin. Braden Fowler-Nicolosi completed 32 of 54 passes for 359 yards with 3 touchdowns and an interception. UNLV improved to 5-1, a 45-27 win at Nevada. The Rebels rushed for 259 yards. They allowed 187 yards on the ground to the Wolfpack with 287 passing yards on 31 attempts. Rebels had a +3 turnover margin. Jaden Maivia hit on 20 of 25 passes for 267 yards, 2 touchdowns. He averaged 10.7 yards per pass attempt and rushed for 32 yards. Colorado State has played to over in both conference games as their defense has given up 510 yards. They are 5-0 the over this year. Rebels have played to over in both their Mountain West games, averaging 44 points a game and 483 yards. They are surrendering 416 yards per game in conference with 6.5 yards per play. CSU attempts the second most passes in the country, averaging 47 a game. ULNV rushes for 5.2 yards a carry. The Rams were beaten by 20 at Utah State in their lone road Mountain West game. Play here UNLV -8. Coastal Carolina and Arkansas State college football pick. This one here on Saturday. All right, here we go. Coastal Carolina. Let's see if we get that graphic right. I know I've had some issues here with these numbers, but we're gonna change that here. Should not read -10.5. It should read here. We'll just pull it off if it's not right. There we go. All right, let's go. All right, here we go with this game. All right, Coastal Carolina improved to 3-3 with their 27-24 win at App State. The Chanticleers rushed for 196 yards. They allowed 111 yards on the ground to the Mountaineers for over 4 yards a carry and 305 yards passing on 31 attempts. Grayson McCall completed 19 of 28 passes for 373 yards with 2 touchdowns. He averaged 13.3 yards per pass attempt. Arkansas State drops to 3-3, a 37-3 road defeat at Troy. Red Wolves rushed for 47 yards on 32 carries. They surrendered 351 yards rushing to the Trojans with 236 yards passing on 21 attempts. Jalen Rayner, 15 of 27 passing for 156 yards with 5.8 yards per pass attempt. Red Wolves are 129th in the nation in total defense, giving up 460 yards per game. Opponents rush for 5.1 yards a carry on them and allow 8.4 yards per pass attempt. Coastal Carolina is an efficient passing team under McCall. Chanticleers are passing for 300 yards a game. They beat the Red Wolves 2 seasons ago with McCall 52-10 on the road to play here. Coastal Carolina minus here the 10 points. Ole Miss and Auburn college football pick. This one here on Saturday. All right, Ole Miss improved to 5-1, a 27-20 home victory to Arkansas. Rebels rushed for 196 yards. They limited the Razorbacks to 36 rushing yards with 250 passing on 39 attempts. Jackson Dart, 16 of 25 passing for 153 yards and a touchdown. They had a +2 turnover margin. Auburn fell to 3-3, a 48-18 road defeat to LSU. Auburn Tigers rushed for 139 yards for 4 yards a carry. They surrendered 238 yards rushing to Louisiana State with 325 passing on 27 attempts. Peyton Thorne, 12 of 23 passing for 102 yards. He averaged only 4.4 yards per pass attempt. 3 straight losses for Auburn, all against the SEC. Ole Miss is 11th in total offense by averaging 489 yards a game. This is an efficient passing team with 15.3 yards per pass completion and 9.8 yards per pass attempt. Auburn is on the other end of the spectrum here, passing-wise, as they are inefficient. Ole Miss is holding teams at 3.2 yards per rush. Respect the Rebels win at a good Tulane team on the road by 17. Tigers are giving up 4.5 yards per rush here. The play here will be on Ole Miss, -6.5. Utah State and San Jose State college football pick. Here we go for Saturday. Utah State dropped to 3-4 after a 37-32 home defeat to Fresno State. The Aggies rushed for 205 yards. They allowed 151 rushing yards to the Bulldogs with 310 passing on 40 attempts. Aggies had a -2 turnover margin. McKay Hillstead missed the past 2 games with a concussion. He is questionable here. Cooper Legas completed 23 of 40 passes for 360 yards with 3 touchdowns and 2 interceptions. He averaged 9.1 yards per pass attempt. Legas, in his second reign as starter, has shown improvement. He was benched for McKay early in the season. San Jose State improves to 2-5, a 52-24 road win in New Mexico. Spartans rushed for 259 yards. They allowed 129 yards rushing to the Lobos with 262 passing on 30 attempts. Javon Cordero, 8 of 17 for 272 yards with 2 touchdowns. Utah State has won 10 straight against San Jose State. The over, though, is 8-1 in their past 9 meetings. The Aggies sit 15th in the nation in total offense, averaging 478 yards a game with efficient passing. Spartans have struggled in pass defense. Now, Utah State, 108th in the nation in total defense. They're giving up 414 yards a game. The Aggies and Spartans have gone over in all but one of their games. The play here, Utah State and San Jose State, over 66.5. Appalachian State and Old Dominion college football pick. This one here on Saturday. Appalachian State fell to 3-3, a 27-24 home defeat to Coastal Carolina. Mountaineers rushed for 111 yards on 26 carries. They allowed 196 yards on the ground of the Chanticleers with 373 passing yards on 28 attempts. Joey Aguilar completed 18 of 31 passes for 305 yards with 2 touchdowns. He averaged 9.8 yards per pass attempt. Old Dominion improved to 3-3, a 17-13 road victory at Southern Miss. That was 2 weeks ago. Monarchs rushed for 143 yards. They limited the Golden Eagles to under 3 yards a carry with 166 passing yards on 26 attempts. Jack Shields didn't make a completion on 4 passes. He relieved Grant Wilson, who completed 8 of 18 passes for 194 yards with 11 yards per pass attempt. App State has failed to cover both conference games. They're giving up 520 yards a game. Old Dominion has covered all 3 Conference USA games. In their last road game, the Mountaineers allowed 40 points and 471 yards at UL Monroe. The Monarchs have been good in defending the run this year, allowing 3.1 yards a carry. Play here, Old Dominion, plus 6.5. TCU and Kansas State college football pick. This one here on Saturday. All right, TCU improved to 4-3, a 44-11 home victory to BYU. Horned Frogs rushed for 137 yards. They limited the Cougars to under 3 yards a carry with 152 yards passing on 34 attempts. Josh Hoover, 37 of 58 passing for 439 yards with 4 touchdowns and 2 interceptions. He averaged 7.6 yards per pass attempt. Hoover has been forced into action with that knee injury to Chandler Morris. Kansas State improved to 4-2, 38-21 road win at Texas Tech. The Wildcats rushed for 272 yards. They allowed 182 yards on the ground to the Red Raiders with 298 passing on 49 attempts. The Wildcats had a +3 turnover margin by picking off 3 passes. Will Howard completed 6 of 9 passes for 86 yards. He averaged 9.6 yards per pass attempt. Howard was benched for Avery Johnson. The freshman goes 8 of 9 for 77 yards. He averaged 8.6 yards per pass attempt and rushed for 90 yards and 5 touchdowns. Now, TCU is still a strong offensive team. They sit 12th in the nation, averaging 488 yards a game. They are running for 4.8 yards a carry. There is now tape on this freshman quarterback for Kansas State. The Horned Frogs have defended the run well this year. In their 4 conference games, they're holding teams just 301 yards a game. Play here TCU plus 6.5. Texas Tech and BYU college football pick. This one here Saturday. Texas Tech fell to 3-4 after their 38-21 home victory to Kansas State. The Red Raiders rushed for 182 yards for 6 yards a carry. They allowed 272 yards rushing to the Wildcats with 163 passing on 18 attempts. Texas Tech a -3 turnover margin. Baron Morton 14 of 21 passing for 125 yards. He averaged 6 yards per pass attempt and had a rushing touchdown. Morton is questionable with that shoulder injury. Jake Strong relieved, goes 16 of 28 passing for 173 yards with a touchdown and 3 interceptions in his debut. The freshman starts if Morton cannot. BYU fell to 4-2, a 44-11 road defeat to TCU. Cougars rushed for 91 yards on 32 carries. They allowed 137 yards on the ground to TCU with 447 passing on 59 attempts. Keaton Slovis hit on 15 of 34 passes for 152 yards and an interception. He averaged 4.5 yards per pass attempt. BYU is struggling to run the football with 2.4 yards per rush average. Red Raiders hold their opponents at 3.9 yards per carry. The passing offense has not been efficient as teams struggle in this department in major conferences. Red Raiders are running for 5 yards a carry with BYU surrendering 4.5 yards per rush attempt. The Cougars' defense has struggled facing the veteran Big 12 schools like Kansas and TCU. Play here Texas Tech at -3. Army and LSU college football pick. This one here on Saturday. Army fell here to 2-4 with their 19-0 home victory home defeat to Troy. The Black Knights rushed for 177 yards on 51 carries. They gave 222 yards rushing to the Trojans with 227 passing on 21 attempts. Bryson Daly completed 3 of 4 passes for 15 yards. He rushed for 38 yards. Daly got banged up, questionable for Saturday. Champ Harris relieved, goes 6 of 13 passes for 63 yards and an interception. He averaged 4.8 yards per pass attempt. Army allowed 6 sacks and had a -3 turnover margin. LSU improved to 5-2, a 48-18 home victory to Auburn. LSU Tigers rushed for 238 yards. They allowed 4 yards per rush to Auburn with 154 passing on 27 attempts. Jaden Daniels, 20 of 27 passing for 325 yards with 3 touchdowns and an interception. He averaged 12 yards per pass attempt and rushed for 83 yards. Army averages 48 rushing attempts per game and runs for 4.1 yards a carry. LSU, 112th in the nation in total defense. They're giving up 6.4 yards per play, 4.9 yards per rush. The play of the Tigers defense makes it tough to back them here, as the Black Knights will shorten this game with high rushing attempts. Play here Army at +31.5. Michigan and Michigan State college football pick. This one here on Saturday. All right, here we go with this one. Michigan 7-0 after their 52-7 home victory to Indiana Hoosiers. Wolverines rushed for 183 yards. They limited the Hoosiers to 92 rushing yards for under 3 yards a carry with 140 passing on 29 attempts. It was a +4 turnover margin for the Wolverines. J.J. McCarthy completed 14 of 17 passes for 222 yards with 3 touchdowns. He averaged 13.1 yards per pass attempt. Michigan State dropped to 2-4 after their 27-24 road defeat to Rutgers. The Spartans rushed for 112 yards on 41 attempts. They had allowed 3 yards per rush to the Scarlet Knights with 181 passing on 28 attempts. Each team committed 3 turnovers. Kane Hauser hit on 18 of 29 passes, 133 yards with 2 touchdowns. He averaged 4.6 yards per pass attempt and had a rushing touchdown. The Spartans were outscored 21-0 in the final quarter in defeat. The redshirt freshman quarterback against this Wolverines defense is a massive concern in his second career start. Michigan State is defending well, holding teams to 334 yards, 3.5 yards a carry. The Spartans are rushing, though, for only 3.6 yards a game. 3.6 yards a carry. The Wolverines are second in total defense by allowing 233 yards a game. It will be tough for the Spartans to get points on the board, and there will be a high volume of rushes on both sides to move this clock. Play here, Michigan State under 46.5. Duke and Florida State college football pick. This one here is on Saturday. All right. Duke improved to 5-1 after a 24-3 home victory to NC State. The Blue Devils rushed for 194 yards. They held the Wolfpack to 112 yards rushing with 193 passing on 40 attempts. And Riley Leonard missed last week's game with an ankle. Leonard was active at practice questionable for Saturday, although it does point to him returning. There's been some positive media news coming out. Of course, Henry Bellin relieved, goes 4 of 12 passes for 107 yards with 2 touchdowns and an interception. He averaged 8.9 yards per pass attempt, then rushed for 28 yards. Florida State 6-0, a 41-3 home victory over Syracuse. The Seminoles rushed for 191 yards. They held the Orange to 3.5 yards a carry with 137 passing yards on 31 attempts. FSU had a +2 turnover margin. Jordan Travis, 23 of 37 passing for 284 yards with a touchdown. He averaged 7.7 yards per pass attempt and also ran for a touchdown. Duke must lean with the rushing and defense with their quarterback situation. Seminoles have pounded all 3 home opponents this season by 22 or greater points. Duke has only 1 true road game, and it was out of conference at UConn. To play here, Florida State minus the 14.5. Georgia State and Louisiana college football pick. Here we go for action on Saturday. Georgia State 5-1, a 41-24 home victory to Marshall. Panthers rushed for 240 yards. They allowed 156 yards on the ground to the Thundering Herd with 301 passing on 34 attempts. Darren Granger hit 21 of 31 passes for 234 yards with a touchdown. He averaged 7.5 yards per pass attempt and rushed for 62 yards and a touchdown. Louisiana, they're 4-2 after a 34-30 home victory to Texas State. Raging Cajuns rushed for 218 yards. They allowed 204 yards rushing to the Bobcats with 326 passing on 40 attempts. Ben Woldridge has a foot injury and missed the past 3 games. Dean Chris, 13 of 17 passing for 205 yards with 3 touchdowns. He averaged 12 yards per pass attempt and rushed for 67 yards and a touchdown. Georgia State's played a weak schedule with their loss coming by 21 at home to a good mid-major school in Troy. Louisiana 26 in total offense with 6.2 yards per rush with efficiency in the passing game. Georgia State is giving up big plays in the passing game by allowing 12.4 yards per completion, 8.2 yards per pass attempt. The play here will be Louisiana -3. Clemson and Miami college football pick. Here we go for action on Saturday. Clemson improved to 4-2, a 17-12 home victory to Wake Forest 2 weeks ago. Tigers rushed for 207 yards for nearly 5 yards a carry. They limited the Demon Deacons to under 3 yards a carry with 137 passing on 25 attempts. Cade Klubnik, 18 of 28 passing for 131 yards with 4.7 yards per pass attempt. He rushed for 48 yards and a touchdown. Miami fell to 4-2, a 41-31 road defeat at North Carolina. Hurricanes rushed for under 4 yards a carry. They gave 235 yards rushing to the Tar Heels with 273 passing on 33 attempts. They committed 4 turnovers and took none away from North Carolina. Tyler Van Dyke, 31 of 48 passing for 391 yards with 4 touchdowns and 2 interceptions. He averaged 8 yards per pass attempt. Miami has turned the ball over 9 times in the past 2 games. Clemson's forced 8 turnovers in their past 2. The Tigers are 5th in the nation in total defense by allowing 261 yards per game with 2.7 yards per pass attempt. Play here Clemson -3. Utah and USC college football pick. This one here Saturday. Utah improved to 5-1, a 34-14 home victory to Cal. Utes rushed for 317 yards for over 6 yards a carry. They limited the Golden Bears to 66 yards rushing with 188 passing on only 31 attempts. Utah +2 turnover margin. Cameron Rising keeps showing up as questionable since the season started. Really not expected to play. Bryson Barnes, 15 of 21 passing for 128 yards with 6 yards per pass attempt. He rushed for 50 yards and a touchdown. USC fell to 6-1, a 48-20 road defeat at Notre Dame. The Trojans rushed for 103 yards on 37 carries. They allowed 125 yards on the ground to the Fighting Irish with 126 passing on 20 attempts. USC had a -5 turnover margin. Caleb Williams, he goes 23 of 37 for 199 yards with a touchdown and 3 interceptions. Williams took 6 sacks. Trojans gave up touchdowns on a kickoff return and fumble recovery. Utah, 117th in the nation in total offense. They are an inefficient passing team that runs for over 4 yards a carry. The Utes on the road in conference was beaten by Oregon State 21-7, gaining only 210 yards. And the Trojans do sit 9th in total offense, averaging 491 yards a game, 5.4 yards per rush, and an efficient passing game. Play here USC -7. Nevada and San Diego State college football pick. This one here on Saturday. All right, Nevada dropped to 0-6, a 45-27 home defeat to UNLV. The Wolfpack rushed for 187 yards on 37 carries. They surrendered 259 yards rushing to the Rebels with 257 passing on 25 attempts. Nevada had a -3 turnover margin. Brendan Lewis hit on 16 of 31 passes for 287 yards with 2 touchdowns and 2 interceptions. He averaged 9.3 yards per pass attempt, plus rushed for 115 yards and a touchdown. San Diego State improved to 3-4, a 41-24 road win at Hawai'i. The Aztecs rushed for 157 yards for over 3.5 yards a carry. They held the Warriors to 53 rushing yards with 427 passing on 48 attempts. San Diego State had a +3 turnover margin. Jalen Maiden, 18 of 24 passing for 221 yards with a touchdown and interception. He averaged 9.2 yards per pass attempt and ran for 53 yards. San Diego State defense has been poor in their Mountain West games by allowing 39 points and 453 yards a game. Never comfortable late in double digits with the Aztecs. Nevada has covered 3 of 4 with competitive losses at home to Kansas and Fresno State. Play here Nevada +13.5. Arizona State and Washington college football pick for action on Saturday. Arizona State fell to 1-5, a 27-24 home defeat 2 weeks ago to Colorado. Sun Devils rushed for 57 yards on 29 carries. They limited the Buffs to under 2 yards per rush with 239 passing on 42 attempts. Trenton Bourguet, 32 of 49 passing for 335 yards with a touchdown. He averaged 6.8 yards per pass attempt and had a rushing touchdown. Each team had 5 sacks. Dating back to last year, the Sun Devils have lost 9 straight against FBS teams. Washington 6-0 at 36-33 home victory to Oregon. The Huskies rushed for 99 yards on 33 carries. They surrendered 204 yards rushing to the Ducks with 337 passing on 44 attempts. Michael Penix Jr., he goes 22 of 37 for 302 yards with 4 touchdowns and an interception. He averaged 8.2 yards per pass attempt. Washington, in their 3 games in the Pac-12, is putting up 42 points and 472 yards a game, but they are allowing 30 points and 462 yards a game. Arizona State has seen improvement offensively in conference. They are averaging 320 yards passing in conference play. Play here Arizona State and Washington over 60. UCLA and Stanford college football pick for action on Saturday. All right. UCLA fell to 4-2, a 36-24 road defeat to Oregon State Beavers. The Bruins rushed for 284 yards. They allowed 133 yards rushing to the Beavers with 282 passing on 26 attempts. It was a -2 turnover margin for the Bruins. Dante Moore goes 14 of 33 passing for 165 yards with a touchdown and 3 interceptions. He averaged 5 yards per pass attempt. Moore was sacked 5 times. Stanford improved to 2-4 after their 46-43 double overtime victory at Colorado. They overcame a 29-0 halftime deficit. They gained 124 yards rushing for just over 3 yards a carry. Stanford allowed 132 yards rushing to the bus with 400 passing yards on 47 attempts. Ashton Daniels, 27 of 45 passing for 396 yards, 4 touchdowns. He averaged 8.8 yards per pass attempt. UCLA is struggling offensively in conference, and especially on the road. The passing game was inefficient on the road at Utah and Oregon State. Stanford also showed competitiveness against Arizona at home. Play here, Stanford plus 17. All right, that was our college football pick show here for Saturday. We got you all 46 games. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. We have free college football picks updated all season long. Free picks every day from all the major sports like NFL, like Major League Baseball. Of course, we got NHL picks from our cappers. NBA's coming up in a few days. Lots of live shows over our network. Make sure you subscribe. Also, if you would support our channel with that like, that thumbs up, it's greatly appreciated. And remember, visit our site, TonySpeaks.com, for our best plays. Our premium picks are there. Use that promo code TonyT at checkout, and you will save the 20% off. All right, we'll have more picks throughout the day. I'm Tony T. We'll talk to you guys later.